What are the chances that Shedeur outplays Caleb? Back-to-back games going up against former #1 picks.
Shedeur Sanders, coach, will outplay Caleb Williams.
What a take.
Now, the Bears will win, but because Shedeur is facing a much weaker defense, Caleb obviously facing one of the best defenses in the league, and Myles Garrett is going for that sack record, all right? And so he's going to be under duress. Shedeur is going to outplay him. Caleb has not thrown for 300 yards all season. Shedeur did it in his third start. Caleb has 2 games out of 30 that he started where he's thrown or produced 4 touchdowns. Caleb has 1 in 3 starts.
You meant Shedeur has one.
I mean, Shedeur has 1 in 3 starts. And then, Nick, there's this.
Okay.
Look at the graphic of their stats this year when they start.
Okay.
Shedeur's are actually better.
This is too
Passer rating higher, TD percentage higher. Caleb, we know he doesn't throw many interceptions except for that game, losing one. And then yards per attempt, passing yards per game. I'm just saying. I really think he's going to. You think it's not on the board that he outplays Caleb?
I honestly believe this is the hottest take in sports TV, any network, any show.
What?
Really?
Why? He just threw for 364 yards.
You moved the goalpost now.
And 4 touchdowns.
Because I heard him deliver it, and he gave no equivocation, no qualifiers, no nothing, just flatly. Like, listen, at this moment, given the discrepancies in defenses, I trust Shedeur Sanders to play a great game more than Caleb Williams. I think that's banana.
Caleb has moments, and he will have moments. He was great at times in that last game.
He was great in the second half until he lost.
Rolling out, he's great and all that. But he is not consistent. Neither one of them's that consistent.
Yeah,
I'm just saying with the discrepancies in defenses, I think Shedeur's going to play better.
So here is. I
don't know why y'all
shocked. Coach might agree with you. I don't know. Here's where I stand. I thought that was a very impressive game by Shedeur, but I am not yet fully convinced he's a real starting quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not fully convinced either.
Okay, and so because of that, so a guy that I don't know if he's actually even a starter in this league versus a guy who I know is a starter in this league, and I believe one day will be an excellent starter, and this year has shown flashes of it. I of course trust that the latter more than the former. Like even if the defenses are drastically different, but and the Browns defense has particularly at home this year, this is on the road, been excellent, but we did just see the Titans score 30.
Yeah.
And
I'm not saying at this moment, and I'll be quick, Coach. I'm not saying at this moment I think Shedeur is better than Caleb.
I know you're not.
But I do think he will outplay him Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think it's that hot a take. I think it's definitely on the board. I think it could easily happen. And I don't think it's just a function of Shedeur outplaying Caleb at all. I think it's the Browns defense significantly outplaying the Chicago defense. And Chicago's the bottom third in almost every defensive category. Where they make hay is in turnovers. And that could be the biggest problem.
That worries you.
No, it is. But as you said before, it's not something that you can count on game in, game out. But it is something they've been extremely good at this season. I think the other thing is Shedeur's added some energy into that building. So Chicago's hoping to get the Browns on life support. That's not what's going to happen. The defense is going to play really well because they're excited about where Myles is, and they also have maybe the defensive rookie of the year. So they've got a lot of energy defensively, and then offensively, he's infusing some energy. And this game comes in between Green Bay and Green Bay. So there's a lot of emotion before, a lot of emotion after. They're hoping the Browns come in, play dead. That's not going to happen, and Caleb could easily be on the short end of the stick. And then if that does happen, the amount of enthusiasm for Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland and nationally is going to be.
I agree. I agree if it happens, and if it happens, he'll deserve it. If in back-to-back weeks he plays really well and outplays the last 2 #1 picks, he'll deserve it.
Well, it's not like Caleb's lighting it up.
Well, that's my thing. I'm surprised because Caleb is so inconsistent. I'm surprised you just think it's a given.
Because I just think it is way more likely that Shedeur goes 10 of 27 for 10 with 2 picks than it is he duplicates what he did yesterday.
Yeah, but I hit like a wide receiver stream that'll go for 60 like most games.
I mean, maybe. I just, the Bears, for whatever defensive issues they have and whatever quarterback issues they have, they've been a good team all year.
Let's address the central, volatile premise head on. If Shedeur Sanders were to deliver a performance that is perceived as superior to that of Caleb Williams in their upcoming matchup, the ensuing reaction across the sports media landscape would be nothing short of absolute, uncontainable mayhem. I am stating this with complete conviction. Behind the scenes, there exists a quiet, almost universal anticipation for this very scenario. Every television network, every digital content creator, every on-air personality is, in a secret corner of their professional consciousness, fervently hoping for this outcome. The rationale is purely driven by the economics of engagement. A narrative that pits the embattled rookie against the celebrated first overall pick, with the underdog prevailing, is a ratings and algorithmic bonanza of historic proportions. It translates directly into viewership spikes, subscriber surges, and tangible financial incentives. The potential for sensationalistic content would be limitless, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of hyper-analysis and heated debate. The inherent humor in the pregame discourse lies in its selective application of context. When the discussion centers on legacy-defining duels like Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, the narrative is often artificially distilled into a simplistic, one-on-one basketball-style confrontation. However, the moment we pivot to evaluating Shedeur Sanders versus Caleb Williams, there is a sudden, almost performative insistence on incorporating the critical variable of opposing defenses. This analytical pivot is not without merit. In fact, it's a necessary correction. The Cleveland Browns' own identity forces this nuance into the conversation. For multiple seasons, a cavernous gap has existed between the elite production of their defense and the inconsistent output of their offense. This stark disparity inherently frames any evaluation of their quarterback. One signal caller is operating with a monumental safety net and field position advantage, while the other is not. This contextual chasm makes direct comparison inherently flawed. It is also reasonable to question the sustained peak performance of a defense, even one as formidable as Cleveland's, when it is perpetually burdened by an offense that fails to sustain drives or put points on the board. Defensive execution is profoundly reliant on effort, energy, and collective morale. As the season grinds into its final stages, and if postseason aspirations dim, maintaining that ferocious play-to-play intensity becomes a monumental psychological challenge. However, one could also envision a scenario where the unit rallies with a specific galvanizing purpose to directly enable Shedeur Sanders' success, to make a statement against a high-profile opponent like Chicago, or to demonstrate unified support for head coach Kevin Stefanski. These intangible motivational factors add layers of unpredictability to the defensive performance we can expect. The schematic and talent disparity presents a fascinating paradox. On one hand, Shedeur Sanders undoubtedly faces a less formidable defensive challenge in the Chicago Bears than Caleb Williams does against the Cleveland Browns. This is the easier go argument. Conversely, Caleb Williams is equipped with significantly more potent offensive infrastructure, a top-tier offensive line, a diverse and dynamic set of skill position weapons, a dominant and reliable rushing attack, and the schematic genius of coordinator Ben Johnson orchestrating the entire operation. This raises a pivotal strategic question. What will Johnson's game plan entail? Will he aggressively place the onus on Williams' arm to challenge the Browns' defense, or will he leverage the team's multifaceted strengths to alleviate pressure on his young quarterback? The answer to this question will fundamentally shape the post-game who outplayed whom narrative. This leads us to the core complexity of quarterback evaluation within a team sport. If the final box score shows Sanders passing for 250 yards and a touchdown while Williams manages only 160 yards, but the Bears amass 200 rushing yards and secure a comfortable victory without requiring heroics from their passer, does that constitute Sanders outplaying Williams? The raw statistics would suggest one conclusion, but the contextual reality, that one quarterback was asked to do far less within a winning formula, suggests another. A truly declarative statement that one quarterback outperformed the other requires a clearly defined set of circumstances. It is most valid when both offenses are explicitly reliant on their quarterbacks to generate production in a back-and-forth shootout. In such a scenario, you can more credibly compare touchdown drives, clutch throws under pressure, and critical errors. As analyst Nick Wright has pointed out, there is a logical through line in the skepticism surrounding Sanders. If legitimate questions exist about his viability as a starting NFL quarterback, then even a statistically middling Bears defense should present a significant problem and create considerable discomfort. The Bears' defensive identity this season has been predicated on generating takeaways. While the sustainability of a turnover-dependent model is often debated, the quality of many of their interceptions has been impressive, featuring exceptional individual plays rather than solely benefiting from egregious opposing errors. This ball-hawking tendency is a critical variable. If Shedeur Sanders demonstrates questionable decision-making or inaccurate ball placement, this Chicago secondary has repeatedly proven it can and will capitalize. They make offenses pay for mistakes. My personal fascination with this contest is multifaceted. I maintain no intrinsic allegiance to either outcome. However, I cannot deny the captivating allure of the chaos that a scenario where Sanders clearly outperforms Williams would unleash. The narrative explosion would be an unstoppable force in the sports media ecosystem, dominating cycles for weeks. Simultaneously, I am intensely curious to observe how Caleb Williams operates against a defense of Cleveland's caliber, provided that unit isn't physically and emotionally drained from being constantly stranded on the field by its own offense. The ability of the Browns' offense, led by Sanders, to string together first downs and sustain drives will be a meta factor that directly impacts the performance of their defense against Williams. The range of potential outcomes is vast, and nearly all of them are combustible. This game is a guaranteed producer of fireworks, though the nature of the spectacle remains to be seen. It could manifest as a thrilling, high-level duel. Alternatively, it could devolve into an ugly, low-scoring struggle where both young quarterbacks are harassed into mistakes, Williams running for his life behind a besieged line, Sanders committing costly turnovers. Even this latter scenario is compelling box office material, as it would immediately trigger a fresh wave of existential questions about both players' development and their team's immediate futures. Regardless of the final score or the statistical output, the post-game dissection will be furious, multifaceted, and inescapable. In that sense, the outcome is almost secondary. The very staging of this matchup, with all its built-in narratives and polarizing figures, ensures a decisive victory for audience engagement and analytical debate. Those are my comprehensive thoughts on the impending clash. I am very interested to hear your detailed predictions and analysis. What is your assessment of the likelihood that Shedeur Sanders outperforms Caleb Williams? Do you believe the contextual advantages, Sanders' superior defense, Williams' superior offensive support, effectively neutralize each other, or does one quarterback face a fundamentally steeper challenge? Please share your reasoned perspectives in the comments below. I read every single comment. Whether you align with the view that this game is a tinderbox waiting for a spark, or believe the narratives are overblown, let's engage in a substantive discussion. Let's have a passionate but ultimately respectful debate about the many layers at play. If you appreciate this style of narrative and context-driven analysis, please consider subscribing. We are building a vibrant community here, dedicated to intelligent football discourse, and I would be thrilled to have you join. Don't forget to like this video, as it significantly helps with visibility and allows these nuanced conversations to reach a broader audience. Thank you for your time and for engaging with this analysis.